merely interpreted by later authors. There are problems with many of these eyewitness accounts that continue to confound historians and researchers. Very few of the accounts are consistent with one another, even those given by the same individual at different times. This most likely can be attributed to the problems of memory mentioned previously. Other accounts are attributed to people whose identities cannot be verified or whose presence at the Alamo during the time period they are speaking of is not confirmed by any documentation. Some accounts have appeared many years after the fact with no record of authenticity. Some have been dismissed as fakes already, while others are highly suspect. The accounts presented here include some of these bogus accounts, as well as the suspect ones, since all have served as primary source material for the telling of the Alamo story in the past. Familiar scenes that have found their way into various renditions of the story originate in these sources. Comments will be included with some of these accounts, but the final decision as to whether or not any of them are of historical value is left up to the listener. Once an account is woven into the fabric of history, it is difficult to raise questions about its authenticity or accuracy. Some writers, researchers, readers, and historians tend to react on an emotional level. One example is the case of John Sutherland. Sutherland's dramatic account, in its various forms, has served as the opening scene to the siege of the Alamo in books, articles, and films for years. Recently, Austin researcher Thomas Ricks Lindley found evidence that Sutherland had made a land claim years before his account first appeared. And in that, he made no mention of his links with the Alamo on the first day of its siege. Also, Lindley found documentary evidence of Sutherland having been in San Antonio before the siege began, but no evidence of him there on February 23, 1836. Lindley explained this to another historian who understood all of the points Lindley was making. The other historian's reply was something to the effect, well, if we eliminate the Sutherland account, then we won't have any account of the beginning of the siege. Exactly. The point of this is generally people feel that a questionable, inaccurate, or false historical account is better than no account at all. There is a problem with presenting so many accounts from such a wide variety of sources. The ideal situation would be to put the words of the account giver between quotation marks as if this person was giving the statement directly to the listener. In most cases, this is impossible since the thoughts and words of the reporter of the account are so intermixed with those of the alleged eyewitness that they cannot be distilled from one another. Some of the accounts presented are edited to focus primarily on the siege and battle of the Alamo, and in almost all cases the accounts are from longer narratives. Those interested are urged to go back to the original source in order to evaluate any particular account in its original context. In some cases, I have made minor adjustments in spelling. In the case of proper names, some are spelled in more than one way, sometimes in the same account. I have tried to leave these names as they were written. In the cases where accounts appear in the form of letters, the salutations and closings of these letters are dispensed with, and just the text as it applies to the Alamo is given. I have changed the headings of the accounts from the way that they appeared in the original printing of this book. Before each account, I give the name of the person to whom the account is attributed. As in the original book, this does not mean the account actually originated with this person. I also include the manner in which the account came to us, for example, via a newspaper interview, or by one person passing the information to another, etc., and the date or year the information generally became public. Chapter 1 presents letters written as the Alamo siege progressed. They give a brief but first-hand glimpse as to what transpired at the scene. These letters are presented in chronological order according to the dates they were written. The accounts in the other chapters are presented in the order in which they first appeared.